everyone to a very special exploring tour. My name is Zoe Frost, and I am your hostess with the mostest. Today, we are going to be exploring the Museum of Western Art. Now, the cool thing is this museum is located in Kerrville, Texas, which is only a short drive northwest from San Antonio. And it sits on prime real estate in the heart of the famed Texas Hill Country. This outstanding facility provides the opportunity for one and all to relive Western heritage through great Western art. We have with us today Dr. Daryl Beecham.
There you go.
Who is the executive director of the Museum of Western Art. And they are going to do an amazing live tour with us. And Riley, wave to everyone. So Riley.
Yeah, everybody, this is Riley. She's our museum assistant, and she's going to be running the camera, but she's the brains behind this operation. So we wanted you to see her.
That's right. We need to give credit where credit is due. So, all right. So, Daryl, the stage is yours. Take it away.
So thanks for having us, and welcome to the Museum of Western Art, everybody. I am Daryl Beecham, the executive director of the museum, and we're getting our feet on the ground with technology. We did a test of this last Monday with Zoe and Dan, and it seemed to work really well, but we hope you'll bear with us as we're trying to figure out how technology and a live museum works in this kind of situation. The museum, as Zoe pointed out, is located in Kerrville, Texas. We're about an hour's drive northwest on I-10 from San Antonio, or about 2 hours from Austin, Texas, and about 5 hours or so south of Dallas, Fort Worth area. I would love to know how many of you have ever been to the Museum of Western Art before, because we get a lot of tourists here. We have about 30,000 visitors a year, and the bulk of them are staycationers or vacationers, people who are coming from other places. And so that's always fun to know where people are coming from. But what I want to do today is introduce the building to you, introduce the Museum of Western Art, show you around the museum on a walking tour, and then leave some time for some questioning. So we're going to take about a 40-minute walking tour of the facility. Once again, Riley Drybolt's behind the camera over there, and I'm going to occasionally be saying, Riley, follow me this way or follow me that way. So we're going to do the best we can to make this happen. But the Museum of Western Art was started in 1983. It was built as the Cowboy Artists of America Museum. The Cowboy Artists are a group of about 25 individuals, all men in this case, who sculpt and paint the American West. And they've been an organization for over 55 years right now. But in 1983, a group of local businessmen in Kerrville, Texas, including L.D. Brinkman and Bobby Shelton and Red McCombs and others, decided that it was time to build a museum to host the works of the Cowboy Artist of America. So in 1983, we opened our doors as the Cowboy Artist of America Museum, or the CA Museum. And it operated as exclusively as the Cowboy Artist of America Museum from 1983 to 2003, when it was determined that we needed to expand our mission. From 83 to 2003, the museum only hosted works by members of the CA, the Cowboy Artist. And that became problematic for that group of guys to keep continuously supply the art that was needed to put on the shows and exhibitions. So we decided to expand our vision, expand our mission a little bit, and we became the Museum of Western Art. And today we're able to put on display works by women, people of color, and non-members of the Cowboy Artist of America. So it was a win-win for everybody. And we've operated as the Museum of Western Art since 2003. So about half of our time spent as the CA Museum and half of it spent as the Museum of Western Art. We have a lot of people who come in every day and say, is this the CA Museum? Well, it was. And that's important to know that history. But I want to tell you a little bit about the building. The building was built by a guy named O'Neill Ford. O'Neill Ford was a famous Texas architect. He worked mostly in San Antonio and Austin areas. He's famous for buildings in downtown San Antonio and Austin. He's probably best known for the Tower of the Americas on the University of Texas San Antonio campus, the Hemisphere campus there. But he was one of those guys that really liked using natural materials in the building. And so when he designed this building, He built it as a cruciform style hacienda. And by that, I mean it's a long, skinny cross that goes this way and has cross arms that go across it. And he used a lot of natural materials. So let me point out some of those to you. So Riley's just going to spin around. We're going to go real slowly, not to give everybody headaches. But we have satia tile on the floors, for example. The satia tile is a natural material. It comes out of Mexico. And the satia tile is an imperfect tile. And it's throughout the building. As you come back into into one of the galleries here, you'll notice on the floor, the mesquite cut wood floors. We have the mesquite cut wood floors. These are 4-inch blocks of mesquite wood that the heart of the wood is taken. They're individually laid down, then they're shaved and polished and buffed. And it's one of the great surfaces here in the building. And there's almost 1 million of those mesquite wood floors in this facility. One of the highlights of the building that people always notice is what's called the bovedas or the bovedas. And Riley's going to pan up for you real quickly and show you the arched brick ceilings here in the museum. These are individually laid brick ceilings with skylights that let in a lot of natural light. There are 27 of those, I think, here in the building. And so the building itself is a work of art. With the satia tile, the mesquite cut wood floors, we've got 11-foot doors. We'll go by some of those here in a minute. And it's a big, tall, high 16-foot ceiling here in the museum as you look up into one of our main galleries here. So there's a lot of architectural love that was put into this building. Now, O'Neill Ford, the architect, when he built this, when he designed the building, wanted it to be his masterpiece because he wouldn't live much longer. In fact, he never saw this building opened. It opened right after he passed in 1983. So he's one of the Texas legislature voted him one of the Texas great architects, and we're proud to have this building as a work of art in itself. We usually start off most of our tours by showing you a little sculpture called The Legend Lives. This is by Bill Nebaker. Bill is a Cowboy Artist of America member. And The Legend Lives is a sculpture that he did as the inspiration for the Museum of Western Art, or then the Cowboy Artist of America Museum. It illustrates the fact that the modern day cowboy is not much different than the cowboys of the 1880s. The gear's about the same. The attitudes are about the same. And Bill is one of the great CA artists, and he's still living. He is a working cowboy artist and one of our good and dear friends here. But this piece serves as our logo on our websites, our business cards, and it's a piece called The Legend Lives. What we usually tell people when they come into the building is that we have 5 galleries. And I want to walk you through some of those galleries today, give you a chance to see some of the art that's there. We do have guests in the building. Some of them are shying away when the camera turns this way or that way. But if you see guests, that's because we're open, and we are open. Despite the COVID scare, we were closed from March and all of April and a couple of weeks into May. But the minute Governor Abbott said tourism attractions like the museum could open back up, we started entertaining guests again, and we've been doing that ever since. So we're proud to say that we're open and a part of the active tourism scene here in Kerrville, Texas. So we have 5 galleries here, and we'll take you through each of the galleries. But we're currently getting ready to walk through the introduction gallery. This is a gallery where we meet and greet people. This is a gallery where if you were getting off the bus, this is where you would come. And it's a space that we leave fairly open so that we can have a bar in it. We can have food and beverages. And as you can see, it's a big 16-high-foot ceiling. The wall that you see right in front of you has 2 banners on it. Those banners are upcoming shows, current or upcoming shows, exhibitions here at the museum. The show that's currently up is called Our Favorites. It's a show of selected works from our permanent collection, and it's going to be on display through January the 30th. The show that starts in February, the banner is right next to it, runs February 6th through March 19th, and it's the Women Artists of the West. And it's going to be a show of art by all women artists from around the country. And this is a gallery where we include a lot of bronzes. We have our several of our bronzes out. We have saddles. We have some furniture in this gallery as well. We also have, here's a good example of one of the pieces, one of the saddlery pieces. We have a large saddle collection here at the museum, and we love being able to put that out so people can see the saddles. One of the highlights of this gallery is our Kachina doll collection. This is the Kachina doll collection. This is called the William Silbach Kachina collection. There's 118 individual Kachinas here in the collection. It represents about 75% of the Kachina dolls that were made by the Hopi tribe. And people really do enjoy seeing this very extensive Kachina doll collection. As we work our way around through the gallery, the Cowboy Artist of America member museum that I mentioned, the founding sponsors wall that we have here, there are a lot of names that people here in Texas would recognize. People like the Hunt family and Red and Charlene McCombs, Frony and Robert Shelton, Bill Roden. There's some folks up there in Dallas like the Blakemores and the Reagans and the Underwoods. And so that's our founding sponsors wall there. But this big gallery that you see here, we use it as our welcome gallery, a place to host events, and it serves us really, really lovely. It's a really good gallery. Let's make our way into the, well, actually, I tell you what, let's go over here and look at one of the most iconic works in the collection. And this is a work of art that everybody would recognize. We're gonna go right over here. This is a work of art that everybody will recognize. It's a piece by James Earl Frazier. It's one of the most iconic works in American Western art, and it's a piece called End of the Trail. And I have people come up to me all the time and they say, well, I saw the big version of this in Oklahoma City at the Cowboy Artist of America Museum. And they did, but it's also appeared on postcards and letterheads and oil company logos. And that's because Mr. Frazier did not have it copyrighted. And so it's become one of the most iconic works in the American West genre. Another wonderful piece here in this collection is the Orland Joe work called Friendship Fire. That's this piece here. It's an alabaster work, and it's by the famous artist Orland Joe. It's a stone carving that's almost 4 feet tall. And I asked Orland one time if he liked, if he ever carved in clay and did bronzes like traditional bronze art. And he says that wasn't challenging enough with him. He called those guys the lick it and stick it crowd. And I looked at him kind of funny, and he said, oh yeah, you know, if they're working away and they break a nose, all they have to do is lick it and stick it back on there. With him, if he knocks his nose off or this finger, then he has to start all over because he's in stone. So we enjoy having this work out as well. One of the highlights of the furniture collection here at the museum is the Wooten Desk, and it's considered the king of desks. We'll move this stuff out of the way so you can see it. The Wooten King of Desk is manufactured in Indianapolis from 1874 to 1897. And it was the pride of most of the big banks in the Old West. There are 110 compartments, a mailbox, doors that swing shut, and all under one lock and key. And that was in a local bank here in Kerrville, Texas, one of the Schneider banks. And that's a really important piece. Notable Wooten Desk owners include Queen Victoria, President Ulysses Grant, John Rockefeller, and Joseph Pulitzer. And so that's an important piece of our collection here at the museum. So as we wrap up our tour of our introductory gallery with people, there's a lot of stuff that we could talk about as we go through, but we're going to go into our founders gallery now. And as you can see, it's a big, expansive facility. I talked about this being a cruciform style building. You can see that it's a long, skinny building, and off to the left and off to the right are the wings of this building, the parts that make the cruciform. Again, with the bovedas above us, the mesquite wood cut floors below, and the natural skylights and the LED lighting that help light up this gallery and make it just absolutely spectacular. So what I thought we'd do is I want to talk about just a couple of the works of art as we work our way down through the gallery, pieces that people will recognize if you spent much time in Texas, You'll recognize artists like G. Harvey, for example. This piece that's over here is a piece by G. Harvey called The Christmas Ride. This was gifted to us by the L.D. Brinkman Foundation Collection. And G. Harvey was one of the most famous Western painters. He uses that backlit style of painting where the lights are coming through the windows, the horses, the riders, the clouds. We just think that's one of the masterpieces of the collection. If we come back around, we might have stepped into the Kachina Gallery, but this is the Kachina Gallery. The Kachina Gallery is one of our wings of the cruciform, if you will. And it's another little intimate gallery with the big tall ceilings. We're going to make our way back down through the center or the heart of the exhibition. We love being able to show off some of our favorite works. This exhibition is called Our Favorites. And this is one of the most popular pieces in our collection. It's a piece called Settling the Dust by the famous CA artist, Pat Hamptonstall. It is a marble base and a hand that's reaching into the water. You can see the cowboy and the look of everything. And it's just an absolutely wonderful, wonderful work of art. As we come back over towards the collection that's hanging on the wall, we'll have watercolor and oil paintings. We'll have gouaches, which is a mixture of several of the different mediums called gouache. One of the most popular and famous Western artists that we have in our collection is Robert Pummel. Mr. Pummel is a Kerrville resident, but he was a member of the Cowboy Artists of America for a number of years. And today he's a working painter here in Kerrville. And we just recently completed a major exhibition of his works. And yeah, the skies, Zoe just texted that the skies in this paintings are wonderful, and they are truly a marvel to look at. This gallery is about almost 45 yards long. So it's a big, long gallery. Again, think about the cruciform or the cross and how that works out on the length of the building. If we walk back and forth in this building throughout the day, we certainly get our steps in. That's what we also, in addition to living artists like Mr. Pummel, we have a number of deceased. Schmidt. Of course, here's an Oscar Burninghouse painting. He's one of the Taos masters. There's two of his works here on this gallery wall. A recently deceased artist is Roy Anderson. And Roy was a hill country artist, Texas hill country artist. And that's a piece that's called In the Rainbow Teepee. It's one of our most famous works, and we do have prints of that in our collection. I talked about G. Harvey earlier. One of the masterpieces of the collection from the L.D. Brinkman collection is this work here that's called Mission Wells. And you see again that influence of the lights and the wet ground and the figures. One of our most famous pieces is a piece called No Place for a Gunsel by Bill Owen. No Place for a Gunsel. And people ask all the time, what is a gunsel? Is a rookie cowboy. He's a cowboy. And this is an expert cowboy who sees right at the last minute the disaster that's about to happen and is reining up his horse, pulling up his horse to avoid the cliff that he's about to ride off. It's toured the nation on several occasions. It spent 16 weeks at the Smithsonian, at the Idle-Jorg, and other great museums. When museums ask us for one of our better pieces, this is the one we often loan them because it's considered to be one of the masterpieces. Of course, in addition to the burning houses, here's a Joseph Henry Sharp painting. Joseph Henry Sharp was one of the Taos painters and one of the most famous of those. We don't want to get too far from our internet service, but we're going to look into real quickly our children's area. We have a children's gallery. We're not going to go in there, but there's a dress up area for children. You can see the edge of a chuck wagon in there. There's cooking utensils. There's Lincoln logs. And the kids are able to go in there and play pioneer and read about what it would mean to be a pioneer going across country in 1842. Down the Galdine piece called Aquatic Monarch. This is a work that we've recently acquired. It's exotic woods by the Montana artist Tom Dean, who works out of Milo Creek carving. And it's one sculpture in metal. We have sculpture in wood. We feel like that's one of the important things, is to collect a variety of different works. Zoe, are we doing okay?
We're doing great. I did have Christine Taylor ask, what are the ages of your pieces of art? So like, what would your oldest piece be, maybe?
Right, Christine, that's a great question, because we do have works that date back into the early 1800s. Our average age of our works are the early 1900s. We have works that are as current as that recent piece that's 2020. So, let's say that if we had to choose a range, it'd be the early 1820s to the 2020s. So about 200 years of Western art. Wow. That's here represented here in the museum. We have all varieties and genre of work. I know your guest here today on our Zoom meeting will know that paintings don't just come in oil. They come in oil on board, oil on canvas, there's gouache, there's watercolor. And then carvings don't just come in metal, they come in stone. And as I just pointed out with the Tom Dean piece, they come in wood as well. And so we have a variety of those kinds of things. And in addition, we don't have any out right now. We have a large fabrics collection. We have, in addition to our saddles collection, we have a large Native American or Indian artifact collection that includes teepees and beaded moccasins and dress and war shirts and drums and those sorts of things are all part of our collection as well. Okay. As we make our way back down through the main gallery, I mean, as you can see, there's about 100 works of art on the wall. And just there are lots of little stories as you go along with this. There are artists like Gordon Schneider, that piece that's on the screen right now. Gordon Schneider was a painter and illustrator for the Coors Beer Company. And you see that influence in his yellows there. People don't think about this, but for years, that's what Gordon did, was paint for the Coors Company. And of course, you have to include the Coors yellow in everything. But we love the little hints of red and blues that are in the scene, and just a wonderful, wonderful work of art. One of our most famous works in our collection is the living artist John Moyers. It's called Paper Flowers, and it's just a simple donkey scene, but people love this little work of art.
It's a cute donkey, that's why.
John is it's a cute donkey. It really is. It is beautifully and well done. Yeah. And so we wrap up this gallery tour of this gallery, our main gallery, by pointing out, in addition to the American West, we have kind of the Northwoods. This is a work by Carl Ruggius. It's called Moose Near Long Lake. It's a Canadian piece. Canadian-U.S. border piece, and it's one of the masterpieces. Carl was painting that probably in the early 1900s, so we're real excited about that work. We have a wide number of good helpers here at the museum. We have guys like Andy Bachaphan, who's right over there. We're live on television, Andy. So Andy is a former airline pilot, and when he retired and moved to Kerrville, he and his lovely wife became volunteers here at the museum. And Andy comes in a couple of times a week to help us give tours of the galleries and the museum, and to be our docent and our visual. And he heard me talking over here. I had to come over and see what was going on. So say hi, Andy.
Good to see you, boss.
Good to see you. Yeah. We're going in now to what we call the lecture gallery. This is the gallery in which we have a lot of films about the Old West that we show from time to time. And again, the same kind of art, sculptures that are out. This is a piece called The Raptors Roost by Carl Wagner.
Mm.
And it's a beautiful eagle work. This is one of my favorite works in the entire exhibition. This is Bill Nebaker's piece called Joker. And Zoe, if you can see what's happening there, is the cowboy was getting ready to saddle his horse. And right as he got ready to saddle the horse reached up and pulled the saddle blanket off.
Nice. It's cute.
And turned completely around. So now if the saddle were thrown up onto the horse, it would be backwards.
Backwards.
So
Yes.
We love showing people our newest works. This is a recently acquired work by Heather Foster. And we just think this is a fun little painting. It's called When the Moo Hits Your Eye. It's an acrylic work, and it's the gift of the James Jackson Hudson III, a collector out of New York. And we're really pleased to have that piece in the collection. But the gallery is full of works. Like I say, there's probably 120 out on display right now. One of the most popular pieces from the Taos collection, our Taos part of the collection, is our Fremont Ellis work that's right over here. This is a piece called the Taos Mountains. And it's hard to see how large this is. I almost step into the scene to tell you that about 5'5", 5'6", and you can see how tall this painting is. It's a big painting.
Yeah, that's really
over
big.
7 feet tall. Yeah. And it's one of the what we call end cap, or it's a massive work of art. But Riley's going to spin around real slowly and show you the basis of the gallery kind of as a whole. This is the, I guess, if you will, the west wing of the cruciform of the building. So you get a big feeling for the museum. Let's walk now out into our gallery that we have our wagons, and this is our sunlit gallery. This is we call it the Pavilion side gallery, or our Porch Gallery. And this is where we have things like our Studebaker wagon. Most people know the Studebaker company as a car company, but most people don't know is they started as a wagon company. The Conestogas and the Chuck wagons, and this is one of the Chuck wagon versions. And we're real proud of that. Another collection that we really do enjoy and people seem to really get a kick out of is the Gustav Denzel middle row horses here. We have, these are carousel horses, if you will. And everybody, I told Zoe that if she were to come to the museum, we were going to have her come over, and people do this all the time. They're feeling of the tail and it falls out. And they get all embarrassed, but it's meant to fall out so that people don't tear it up. This is one of the horses that's been unrestored, and it's left unrestored because we don't have good photographs of it. Here in a second, I'll show you another horse that has in fact been restored. Hardly as Riley goes across, there's a big wall here called Sonora, Sedona, and Scent, written by a guy named Don Hedgepeth. Don was one of the great writers of the American West, and that's the wall on which we post some of our donors, our biggest donors, and thank them for all they're doing for us. And it tells the story of the cowboy artist of America. Centerpiece collection in this gallery is our handgun collection. We have a little, what's called pocket guns. And this little pocket gun collection is the gift of Betty Musgrove. This is called her Derringer collection. And they're little bitty garter belt guns. And so I don't know if in Pennsylvania they taught you about that, but women used to carry guns in their garters.
Oh, I know about that.
And so they would stuff these guns down in their garters to keep the bad guys away. And that's just it's a very rare collection of those. I mentioned the Gustav Denzel. This is one of the horses that's been restored. This was restored at what's called the Red Bug Workshop in 1973 by a lady named Nina Fraley. And you can see the vivid and bright colors. And we were able to restore it to its original, because they had great photographs from 1899, believe it or not, when this was built. 1900 is the official date on this one. One of the areas
beautiful.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? One of the areas that we're really very proud of, and we're just going to stick our head in here just real quickly, is our museum's library. It's called officially the Griff Carns Research Center and Don Hedgesmith Library. And believe it or not, Zoe, that most in our Texas people will know, at table number 2 or seat number 2 right there is where Larry McMurtry wrote the book Lonesome Dove.
Oh, wow.
And we have photographs of him with all of his materials spread out. And so that's real exciting to see. That's where Lonesome Dove kind of got its birth, because we have over 6,000 volumes of Western books, memorabilia, and stuff that help augment what we're doing here. Research materials. It's a research library. We can't check the materials out to people, but it's a growing collection. We get books every day from people who are bringing us books about the American West. And so we have one of the fastest and best growing collections of Americana on the American West, we think, in the country. And that's the library. One of the highlights of the patio collection out here is, of course, our stagecoach. This is the Concord Stagecoach with working doors. It has been restored. It was restored back in the early 1990s. And it was actually on the road for a number of years in parades and things up until we couldn't find horses that would pull it any longer. But it's our Museum of Western Art stagecoach that we used for publicity purposes for a number of years. It's appeared in magazine articles, and it's appeared in a couple of Western commercials. And so I'm going to try my best to let people see the outside. So let me know if we lose our connection. Dan,
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. It's a beautiful view.
We're not going to go out too far, but we're going to see if we can get people to see the outside. This is the back side of the museum. There's a lovely sculpture there called A Hard Day's Work by Fred Fellows. And what you're looking at over to your left of that, right now you're looking at the Pavilion and our education center down there to the right. But back over to the left is the Guadalupe River Valley. And that's downtown Kerrville, Texas. So we're encouraging people to come and see the Museum of Western Art. And
it's beautiful.
And gorgeous, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day here in the Texas Hill Country. And so that's pretty much our tour, folks. We wanted to give you a walking tour of the building, show you some of the individual works, and leave time for any questions that you might have. And so, Zoe, I don't know how that works. What do we do from here?
All right. So everyone, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. Although I will say everyone has been making comments about how beautiful it is.
Well, thank you.
There's a bunch of us that have decided we're going to fight over the desk. Okay.
Yeah, that's spectacular, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is.
What's the front of the museum look like?
The front of the museum is really pretty unassuming. For those of you who might not have heard it, the question is, what's the front of the museum look like? And it is, it's a hacienda style looking building, big thick walls. It looks like stones stacked on top of each other. And we didn't start out there because there's, it just really, like I say, it's pretty unassuming. And that's the way Mr. O'Neill Ford, the architect, wanted it. When you walk in, that's when you get wowed by the presence of the museum. But you'll see it's stone, adobe looking, and sandstones. It's got a pergola out front, and we've got 3 really major works of art out there as well. We're situated on 10 acres of real estate here in Kerrville. You have a big 1/4 mile drive that comes up the building and up to the building, our parking lot. And when you walk in, I think when people pull up, they look at it and go, well, that's not much, but then they're surprised when they actually see all the gorgeousness inside the building and the view that we have.
Very cool. Okay, wait a minute. So I know
we got other questions coming in, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was trying to see if I could find a picture online that I could share with everyone, but okay. So are there any drawings that you have in your collection?
We do. We have a large drawing collection, Conte pencil drawings, charcoal works, and we just don't have any of those out right now, but we have a large collection of those.
Okay. Any Remington pieces?
We do. We have a couple of Remington Bronzes. People ask a lot about Charles Russell and Frederick Remington. And, the Remington works are just so valuable and so hard to get hold. We have a couple in our collection of the bronzes, but we try to leave those works to other museum collections because, again, we were designed as the Cowboy Artist of America Museum. And Charlie Russell and Fred Remington weren't members of the Cowboy Artist. Obviously, they had passed before that organization ever started. And so the bulk of our collection are people who are gathering works by living artists at that time, back in the early 80s. And we've acquired some of the collections like the Taos Masters since then, and a couple of Remingtons and a couple of Charlie Russells.
Fantastic. So we had someone ask, how does one request a tour? But you guys are just open to the public, so they can come when?
Right. We are open to the public Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 4 or by appointment. If people will reach out to our website at museumofwesternart.com, they'll see ways to get a hold of us. They can pick up the phone and Riley or myself or one of our Remuda members will get your information, and I'll call you back and set up a tour. I'm one of those guys that I've told people I'll meet you at 2 in the morning if I know you're coming. We want to see this museum. We do meet up here days, and the days that we're off by appointment only. But yeah, we're fully operational ever since the middle of May when the governor lightened up the COVID crisis, and we're going to stay open as long as that continues. But people are always welcome to set up personalized tours. We also have tours of the back area of our museum, our vaults. And we didn't go into that today because we don't want that on film. But we could show people our bronze vault and our painting vault and show them the workspace back there.
Very neat.
Yeah, so they can ask and request that.
Very cool. Daryl, I'm going to ask a favor of you. If you could move back inside, you are very dark.
Am I getting too much light on
there we go. Yeah. Light is great.
Okay. Better?
Perfect. A lot of people said great tour. Sounds like a fun road trip. They'd love to go visit in person. Okay, so question, does LD Brinkman have a spread in Frisco? Someone said they've seen that name on Preston Road going into Frisco. Do you know anything about that?
He did. Yeah, he did. Mr. Brinkman passed away 5 years ago on July 4th of 2015. And at the time of his death, he had holdings from around the country. Large ranch here in Kerrville in Kerr County and Gillespie County, but then other properties up near Dallas and around. He was a Texas businessman, and so he had properties wherever he could hold them. He was known for his Brinkman Flooring Company, but once that became very popular, Brinkman Flooring Company, he expanded into cattle, horses, ranching, land. There's a Brinkman Properties real estate company here today, and so it's a pretty household name in the Hill Country. But LD Brinkman is one of the founders of the museum and one of our biggest donors to our collection, with over 130 works from the LD Brinkman collection.
Fantastic! Lots of great tour, beautiful place. Didn't know you existed, so they were happy to learn about you. Beautiful artwork. Best virtual tour they've been on. Would love to visit. Wonderful tour. Hope to visit soon. Lots of people are hoping they get to come.
Well, we'd love to have you, and if you do come, folks, remind us that you were on this tour. We'd love to know that, and love to know the celebration, and you guys are watching. We encourage you to come to the Texas Hill Country, even though COVID right now is on the rise nationwide. We're pretty much holding our own. We're about 25 miles from Fredericksburg. Everybody knows where that is. We're about an hour from San Antonio. So it makes for a good weekend vacation for those folks in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Oh yeah,
And,
I looked it up.
and
I considered driving there myself, but I was like 4 hours, my day's gone. Like that
yeah, it's a
would
full
take
day,
me a long
to get
time.
here.
Yeah.
But we've got lots of hotels, lots of RV spaces, B&Bs, and people can go out to the Kerrville Chamber of Commerce or the Visitors Bureau, the Kerrville Visitors Convention and Bureau, or whatever that is, CVB, and request information about Kerrville and the Texas Hill Country, and they'll send you a packet. And we hope that you will include us on your tourism.
Nice.
You come head this way. Yeah.
Yeah. So someone did ask, her local museum is the Springfield Museum, and she
Sure.
asked, how would someone request to borrow some of your art?
Well, it's a formal request that has to be made to me, the executive director, from the agency, the executive director there. And what we do is good museums know the process that's in place, and we'll take a look at their security, for example, their building, make sure that they meet temperature and humidity controls, and that they can protect our works of art. And if all of those things check out, then we'll make arrangements to loan works to their museum. And of course, we'll hope for reciprocal type agreements from other museums. We're always borrowing works from others.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right. So do you do any young artist competitions or shows ever?
We don't do young artist competitions, but we do during the spring and summer and fall. We don't do them during winter. The spring, summer, and fall, we have workshops with living artists. We do usually a 2, 3, or 4 day workshop. We do one in sculpture. We're doing one in printmaking and one in painting. We do both plein air and studio painting with master artists. And people can sign up for those and get on those. They have to come to Kerrville to them because we do them down in our pavilion here at the museum. But we're always hosting those sorts of things. And we're always on the lookout for new and upcoming artists. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So I have to say this comment is extremely important, and it is great camera work by Riley. Great job, Riley.
Yeah. Comments, yeah.
Yeah, everybody loves the interior. They're saying it's time for a road trip. So I'm glad that we were able to share this with everyone.
I think we ought to, Zoe. We ought to have a road trip and just everybody from up there, come on down. We'd love to host you. If we know there's a group coming, we do little barbecues out on our back patio. We have receptions for folks. We can make it worth your time to come to Kerrville.
How fun. Well, when it's safe, I mean, we've been known to throw a bunch of people in a bus and go places. So.
We'd love to see you. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, everyone, I'm going to take yourselves off mute, please. Let's give a round of applause for Daryl. He did a fantastic
thank you, so kind.
job.
We appreciate it. And folks, I'd love to stick around, but I have a board meeting to go to, believe it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Oh, thank you so much.
Good. And well, thank you for coming, being on this virtual tour with us. We hope to see you again soon in Kerrville. Let us know that you're coming. And thanks for spending the afternoon with us.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,